Dr. Maya Washington's hands moved before her brain could catch up. Pressure, clamp, suction. Blood bloomed across the surgical field like a crimson flower opening too fast. The monitors screamed. The patient's pressure dropped. 40/20. 30/15. "We're losing him," the nurse said, her voice tight. Maya's world narrowed to her hands and the bleeding that wouldn't stop. She'd been awake for 28 hours straight, covering for Dr. Patterson, who'd called in sick again. Her eyes burned. Her back ached. But none of that mattered because Mr. Chin was dying on her table, and she was the only thing standing between him and the end. "Bag him," she ordered. "Get me 2 units of O-negative. Now." Her fingers found the bleeder. Tied it off. The monitors stabilized. 60/40. 70/50. The screaming stopped. Maya stepped back from the table, her hands shaking now that the crisis had passed. Dr. Rodriguez took over the closure. Maya stripped off her gloves and walked out of the OR, trying to breathe normally, trying not to think about how close that had been. In the hallway, she leaned against the wall and closed her eyes. For more hours. Just 4 more hours and her shift would end. Then she could sleep for maybe 6 hours before coming back to do it all again. "Dr. Washington." Maya opened her eyes. A man stood 5 feet away, wearing a suit that probably cost more than her monthly rent. He was Korean, maybe mid-30s, with sharp features and eyes that looked like they never missed anything. He held a leather folder and an expression that made her stomach drop. "Yes!" She straightened, suddenly aware of how exhausted she must look. "Kang Min-jae," he said, not offering his hand. "I'm with Morrison and Lee. We represent the hospital's liability insurance. I need to ask you some questions about the Chen procedure." Maya's blood went cold. "The patient is stable. I'm aware." His voice was flat, professional. But there was a complication. One that violated standard protocol. "The hospital is conducting an investigation. I saved his life. You deviated from approved procedure." Min-jae opened his folder. "The incision you made was not the standard approach for that type of surgery. You didn't consult with the attending physician before making that choice. And according to the surgical notes, you'd been on duty for over 24 hours, which exceeds the recommended limit." Maya felt heat rising in her chest. The standard approach wasn't working. He was bleeding out. "I made a judgment call. A judgment call that could have killed him. But it didn't." She stepped closer, anger overriding exhaustion. "He's alive. His family gets to see him tomorrow. That's what matters." Min-jae's expression didn't change. "What matters, Dr. Washington, is whether this hospital can be held liable for your choices. I'll need you to come to conference room B in 1 hour to give a formal statement. I'm in the middle of my shift." "Then we'll make it quick." He closed the folder. 1 hour. Don't be late." He walked away, his expensive shoes clicking on the linoleum. Maya watched him go, her hands clenching into fists. She knew his type. The lawyers who circled hospitals like sharks, who turned medicine into a game of liability and lawsuits, who cared more about protecting insurance companies than protecting patients. She hated him already. If you're enjoying this story so far, hit that subscribe button and drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. Let's build this community together. 58 minutes later, Maya sat across from Min-jae in a windowless conference room that smelled like old coffee and anxiety. A recording device sat between them. His pen was poised over a legal pad. "Let's begin," he said. "Walk me through your decision-making process during the Chin surgery." Maya took a breath, forcing herself to stay calm. Mr. Chin came in with acute appendicitis. Standard procedure. But when we opened him up, we found the appendix had already ruptured. There was more damage than the scans showed. And the standard protocol for a ruptured appendix is? Lavage, drain placement, antibiotic therapy. She met his eyes. But he had an unusual vascular anomaly. The standard approach would have caused catastrophic bleeding. How did you know that? Experience. Instinct. I've seen cases like this before. Min-jae wrote something down. Dr. Rodriguez was the attending surgeon. Did you consult him before deviating? There wasn't time. There's always time to follow proper procedure, Dr. Washington. Not when someone's dying. Maya leaned forward. You don't understand. In that moment, you don't get to think about paperwork and protocols. You think about the person on the table. You think about their family waiting outside. You think about doing whatever it takes to make sure they leave that room alive. And what about when your instinct is wrong? Min-jae's voice stayed level, but something flickered in his eyes. What happens then? Then I live with it. Just like every other doctor who's ever made a hard choice. Hard choices get hospitals sued. Hard choices cost millions of dollars. Hard choices destroy careers. Maya felt something snap inside her. Is that what this is about? Money? You're sitting here in your $1,000 suit, interrogating me about saving someone's life because you're worried about money. I'm sitting here doing my job. Your job is disgusting. The words hung in the air between them. Min-jae's pen stopped moving. For the first time since they'd met, his professional mask cracked just slightly. My job, he said quietly, protects hospitals from doctors who think they're above the rules. Doctors who get arrogant. Who make mistakes and then hide behind good intentions. I didn't make a mistake. You violated protocol. I saved a life. They stared at each other across the table. Maya's heart pounded. She knew she should back down, should apologize, should play the game. But she was too tired and too angry and too sick of people like him treating medicine like a business instead of what it really was.